Hi, today I will name 14 things that can possibly prevent, fight, and even heal the depression. So a couple people asked me in the past if I'm even qualified to talk on this topic. It's a good question. So I got my master's in education from the European University, and back then we were required to take at least 10 college credits in psychology. And just to compare a little bit, I just enrolled in the local Texas university to be a school counselor, and it's master's program. And when I looked at the coursework, it only required 1 credit in psychology to be a school counselor. I don't know how it works. But anyway, the point is I do have some credentials to speak on this topic. 14 things to prevent, fight, and maybe even heal depression. Some of them are common sense. Number 1, reaching out to friends and family members. I know that when we're in depressive moods, we just want to crawl in the hole and be left alone, which is very common. As hard as it can be, we have to force ourselves out of the house to meet other people, or at least text or make some phone calls to someone who cares for us. And it might feel awkward if you haven't kept in touch with that friend or with that family member for a while, but that's okay. I personally like the idea of consistent scheduled friends gatherings. In a religious community, it can be a fellowship gathering or a small group. If you're not a religious person, think of a small circle of friends from your childhood or from your college years. From my experience, having that 1 or 2 people that you can call or text any time of day or night is very valuable. Number 2, looking for professional therapy or for a religious leader. This one seems obvious, but it's not always easy. When I look at some Gen Z people who are talking over their life issues with an AI app, it seems really strange to me. But then I think about some hardship I experienced last year and where I had to look for the professional therapist through my employees assistance program. And I would say it took me about 5 months to find a good therapist. And that was after multiple exhausting phone calls, emails to the corporate office. Supposedly it was a big company who contracted the therapist. So it was a lot of work on my side. So I can't really blame those young people or teenagers who run to their screens just for about anything. And the religious leaders aren't always available, and unfortunately not all of them have people skills. But I know that most of them are collaborating with the local therapists, which can be a good resource. And if you really believe that the search is too exhausting for you and too much work, please ask someone close to you who can help you with that search. Number 3, volunteering or helping someone who is in worse situation than you are. I know that many people escape from depression and from loneliness to extra work, which is okay, but what if you are unemployed right now? Or what if you're in a stage of life where you don't have to work? So have you ever tried to volunteer somewhere? So it would give us a good opportunity to get out of the house and meet other people. I know a story of a person who was handicapped for life, and so he couldn't get out of the house, but he was still mentally okay. So the agency asked him to work for the crisis line so he could just answer the phone and help people in crisis situations. And later on, he shared that helping other people with their devastation cured his own. But then I knew some other people, and it's not judgmental. I remember having a friend who was going through a lot, and then she shared when someone approached her with their issues, she said it was too much for her, which I can understand too. But I'd still encourage you to at least try helping someone who's in a worse situation than you are. Number 4, changing your lifestyle. There are tons of resources on this topic. Organic food, gyms, and health coaching are some of the most profitable businesses nowadays. But what about social media and entertainment? Most parents are finally connecting the dots on how social media negatively affects their kids' mental and physical health. Unfortunately, it's getting worse as we speak, with floods of brain rot content that most kids are not able to sift through. And I'm not sure if young adults are able to pick and choose good content because most of them were raised on social media. However, a good doctor or a therapist will tell you honestly that we shouldn't be surprised about feeling depressed after watching something dark, weird, or totally profane. So it takes some discipline to either limit it or completely cut it out of our lifestyle. Number 5, getting a pet. Fostering or adopting a child is even better, but not everyone can handle that responsibility. So petting your dog or a cat after a long day can be very therapeutic. Many people testify that it can significantly reduce stress after a long day at work, and it can also reduce depression. You may have heard of unconventional horse therapy. Growing up, I will live next to the horse racing track. It was in a big city, we didn't live in a country. But as a teen, I liked going and volunteering in the horse stable, just feeding and taking care of horses. For some reason, just the smell of that stable and interacting with other people, with horses, was very therapeutic for me back then. I was a depressed teen. There were a lot of issues in the family and I was bullied at school, so it helped me a lot. Now let's face it, an animal cannot replace another human being. It's like replacing a real leg with a prosthetic leg. But a good pet can make a great companion, especially when it comes to such common causes of depression as loneliness or exclusion at work or at school. 6, changing the situation that caused depression. As again, this one is easier said than done. We can't really do much when it comes to sickness or to loss of a loved one. With causes like bullying or abuse, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of wisdom, and help from some other people to change the situation. And when there is a mismatched career or toxic work environment or boredom, it's easy to give advice to just quit, especially when it comes from popular influencers who have millions in their bank accounts. And I don't want to show their images or mention their names, although it could potentially boost my views by thousands, but I don't want to do that. We can't really take the advice as golden because most people have to grind in order to pay their bills. So the best thing we can do is to just take small steps, like filling out one job application a day. Or, as I mentioned before, we can spend at least 1 hour a day on something we really love to do. Number 7, create. So our global society obviously grooms us to be consumers, but we are meant to be creators as well. It's a very normal human need, which most of us suppress daily, which typically causes depression and discontent. Because we're too busy consuming, whether it's food, entertainment, social media, or just being too exhausted after work, which is very common. But think of at least one thing that you really enjoyed as a child and you was really good at it. But I hope you're not that creepy rich guy who invented Squid Games because this is something he liked to do as a child. I'm referring to some sports, art, or some hands-on projects that you were really good at. I might sound like a broken record, but please find at least 30 minutes to an hour every day to recreate this as an adult. Number 8, unconventional therapy. I already mentioned horse therapy, but there can be cognitive therapy, music therapy, sound therapy, sun, water, dance. A lot of therapists are using cognitive therapy and it works. And I know they offer music therapy to kids in public schools, which is great. And some of my friends who grew up in cold countries are confident that polar bear club can cure depression. And I'm not sure about that, but it can definitely energize you for a day or even for a week. And some of my Asian friends swear by sun therapy, which makes sense to me because I've noticed that a lot of people who struggle with depression feel a lot better on a sunny day. Sound therapy is great for both, for adults and for kids. But I think the sounds of nature are the best. That's why I would encourage you to go outside in any weather, unless you're very sick. The ritual communal dances existed from the beginning of our times. But nowadays, that tradition is dying out in our modern society. However, some therapeutic dance programs still exist in European countries, and they're available for any age group, which is great. Number 8, journaling. I can testify that the journaling is great, and I know that even professional writers testify that they started writing just to escape the desperation. And nowadays, many people just choose to vent on social media, but it's not the same as journaling. And many studies confirm that writing something with the pen is a lot better for our creativity and for our focus instead of typing it. Especially for kids, because their small group muscles are directly connected to their developing brains. And this might be do as I say, because I'm personally doing both. I do writing with the pen and I type. I'm multilingual. When I write in my native language, I journal with the pen. But when I write in English, I prefer typing it. So if you are a multilingual person or bilingual, you might have to do both. And that's okay. So we write our journals to reflect, to clear our mind, or meditate on our faith. Number 10, prioritizing our relationships and our entertainment. This one can be hard for kids or for young people because they just want to socialize, they want to hang out, and they want to fit in. But when we mature, we start recognizing the value of quality relationships and friendships. It might just strike us one day when we lose a loved one or when we go through some challenging times in our lives. Then we see who is actually next to us. With the entertainment, it is harder than ever in our present time because we're just overwhelmed with too many choices. It's like an old saying where too much of anything is not good for you. One of the Nazi leaders said that you don't need a weapon to kill the nation, just give them bad entertainment. And it seems like this is what's happening now. I don't know if it's just here or everywhere around the world. But I still believe that mature adults are able to pick and choose great art and healthy recreation for themselves and for their kids. And it will significantly reduce chances of depression. 11. Support groups or groups of people with similar interests. There are quite a few support groups available for major life events. You can easily search them online or look for them at your local church. I believe that support group is a very good option for people with addictions. With other causes of depression, it may or may not work. I've tried some support groups in the past when I was going through some difficult stages in life. But they didn't quite work for me, maybe because they were tied to a curriculum that didn't necessarily resonate with my situation. However, support groups are helpful for other people. What helped me a lot was finding a group of people with similar interests. That's how I met some good writers, musicians, and educators in different states. After a few years, as we got to know each other, we started sharing about our lives and supported each other when we had issues. So meeting people with similar interests can be just as helpful as support groups. Number 12, finding sense of purpose. If I talk on the behalf of middle-aged people, it would sound like, okay, my kids are grown, now what? For younger people, it would be, I got my degree, now what? Or, okay, I've reached my career goals, now what? Finding a sense of purpose is not always easy because we usually follow the social trends that come from social media and even sometimes from the megachurch teachings. And all those teachings of success are usually tied to accumulating material wealth and some career success. But if we read the Old Testament and learn about King Solomon, he was one of the wealthiest and most successful people of all times. But he obviously struggled with depression and with finding sense of purpose. And the book of Ecclesiastes is a good proof of that struggle. That book is pretty easy to read. It only has few pages. And if you get to the very end of it, this is his conclusion on purpose of life.
Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14.
13. Think of something to be grateful for. And I believe even Google has plenty of articles on gratitude. It is easy for us to focus on something bad, especially when we're facing challenges. And we just forget to be thankful for simple things like our lives or like running water in our homes. I'm a Christian, but I respect people with other beliefs. And I think in some religions, people wake up in the morning and they have to name 3 things they're thankful for. I think it's a great tradition. And I think it would be good to incorporate that habit as a good start. But in authentic Christianity, we have to be thankful for all of it, for both, for good and for bad things that are happening in our lives. Which is not always easy, particularly when things are not going the way we planned them. One thing that I've learned from other people is to write things that I'm thankful for in my journal. Some people write them on the sticky notes, which works too. If you're a non-religious person and you've watched this video this far, you don't have to watch this last part. But as I mentioned before in my other video, the science of psychology did not exist until the 19th century. Also, a good traditional doctor will tell you that our human body, mind, and spirit are always interconnected. You cannot separate one from another. So our faith can significantly improve our mental health. And I'm not one of those people who would say you just have to pray harder, because there are plenty of good Christian people who are struggling with this condition. Please know that I respect other religions and I respect other denominations. But there are 7 basic elements in the historic Orthodox Church. Number 1 is worship. Number 2 is prayer with fasting. Number 3 is fellowship, which includes stewardship and serving others. Number 4 is studying and reading the scriptures and teachings of saints. Number 5 is confession with genuine repentance. Number 6 is Eucharist. In other denominations, they call it communion. And number 7 is charity. In translation from Greek, charity is unconditional love. So it's not just about giving money, it's how you treat other people around you. And I'm sure that other religions and other denominations have at least 2 or 3 of the same practices in their faith. But I believe if we incorporate at least one of those practices in our daily lives, we will see the difference in our mental health. And that daily practice will help us to fight depression. Thank you for watching my video, especially if you watched it all the way to the end. And please share it with your friends, with your family members. There might be something that helped you, but I didn't include it in this video. Please write me a comment. I would like to hear from you. May you and your families be blessed.